Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our live info session. We are here today to tell you more about the Diaspora Youth Ambassador program and to hear about our current participants' experiences. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Karina Kubian, and I work for the Office of the High Commissioner for Diaspora Affairs. Joining us this evening, we have some of this year's Diaspora Youth Ambassadors. Inessa Rubinian from Sweden, Marihu Nanyan from Germany, and Noemi Stepan Sarkisian from the UK. Our youth ambassador, Hagop Jarnazian from Israel, who was also supposed to be joining us, was unfortunately able to be with us today. Together, we are very excited to announce the launch of the Diaspora Youth Ambassador program for its second year of implementation. The program aims to enable diaspora and Armenian youth to expand their views on Armenia and Artsakh's political, social, economic, and other pending issues. It also aims to support their greater involvement in community life through the transfer of new knowledge and skills. We also try to help contribute to the establishment of contacts between the different diaspora communities and youth from Armenia and Artsakh. The program will be a blend of theoretical and practical work and will include lectures, workshops, and meetings. Participants will be visiting state, scientific, educational, cultural, and technological institutions, as well as memorials, and will be taking part in different cultural activities. The duration of the program is 1 year and will start mid-September. During the first 2 weeks, participants will be traveling to Armenia to participate in our in-country program. Throughout the rest of the year, participants will be conducting community meetings, inter-community experience and best practices exchanges, and other activities, and will be creating media content related to the office, their communities, and other Armenian programs on social platforms and media in their countries of residence. Those who successfully complete the program will receive certificates of successful completion. The program is funded by the Government of the Republic of Armenia with the support of the Janishyan Memorial Foundation, and will be providing the participants with accommodation and meals during the 2-week in-country program, entrance to museums, cultural and public places and institutions, as well as transportation within Armenia during the in-country program. Participants will have to be responsible for their own transportation costs to and from Armenia, and will have to obtain travel insurance on their own expense. In order to participate, participants need to be between 22 and 35 years old and of Armenian origin. They should be living in the diaspora for at least 5 years, and we are looking for active representative members of the Armenian community in the diaspora who possess a good understanding of Armenian, because all our meetings and workshops will be taking place in the Armenian language. We are looking for participants who desire to contribute to the strengthening of the Armenia-diaspora relations while acquiring new knowledge and skills to make their work in the community more effective. It is preferable, but it is not compulsory for our participants to have some experience working with social media platforms or the media. The selected participants will have the opportunity to become direct partners with the Office of the High Commissioner for Diaspora Affairs within their communities. The applications are already open, and the submission deadline is the 1st of July, 2022. And the submission deadline time is midnight Yerevan time. In order to apply, please visit our website, diaspora.gov.am, and have the following documents ready prior to starting your application in either Armenian, English, or Russian. Please have your resume or CV ready, and a short motivation letter explaining why you would like to take part in the program, and as well as contact information of 2 referees who are familiar with the work you have done within your community. Those referees can be community or religious leaders, or can also be of academic and/or professional acquaintance. Only shortlisted candidates will be invited to interviews, which will be taking place next month in July. Now, let's hear a bit from our participants and their experience. To those watching us, please feel free to write your questions for our participants or myself in the comments throughout the duration of our live, and we'll try our best to answer them. Inessa, I'd like to start with you. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your experience as a Diaspora Youth Ambassador.
Hello, everyone. So I am Inessa from Sweden. I'm the Diaspora Youth Ambassador of Sweden, or the former one maybe at the moment. I'm 27 years old. I moved from Armenia when I was 13 years old with my family to Gothenburg City. Here, I graduated from the Faculty of Political Science at the University of Uppsala with a bachelor degree in Development Studies. And I've been also doing quite some work within the Swedish institutions, one might say. So I've been working at the Swedish State Migration Agency, the Uppsala municipality, the what is it called? The Swedish Public Employment Service as a decision maker. So I've been quite active within those fields. And after being chosen as the Diaspora Youth Ambassador, I've been, trying to somehow work at the same time as this program was going on, which has been quite a challenge. So my experience as a young diaspora ambassador was very challenging, teaching and even life changing, I would say. Because after the Artsakh War 2020, I had written this little note to myself on my phone where I said, I just try to put my notes, to put my ideas down, where I pretty much wrote, find ways to connect with the diaspora, create a network, and mobilize. I didn't really understand what I meant by back then, but it was so interesting that this program actually did have the same aims as my little note from winter 2021. This experience has been, life-changing because of the fact that I got to know so many amazing people. I got to go to places where I had never been, especially to Artsakh, which pretty much changed my worldview and my ambitions and my, maybe values even. So it has been quite a journey, and I would love to expand further on, maybe during this conversation. But it has given me a lot of chances to actually connect with my diaspora in Sweden in different ways, and to see the differences and see the similarities as well. So it has been quite a journey, and I'm really thankful for that.
Thank you, Inessa. Noemi, could you please introduce yourself and tell us about the most memorable moment you had during the 2-week in-country program?
Hello, everyone. My name is Noemi Stepan Sarkissian. I was born and raised in the UK. I've lived in London for most of my life. And in terms of my educational background, I completed my Bachelor of Arts in History from the University of Sussex, and then went on to pursue legal studies. And I completed my Master's in Law last year. I'm now working in the social sector, so I give advice on state benefits, immigration, housing issues to residents of my local community. And I will be commencing my training as a solicitor next year in a commercial law firm. I've always also been, active in the British Armenian community from a very young age. I've completed the Kevorktata Armenian Sunday School, and I now volunteer there as a teaching assistant, as well as various other institutions, but I'm sure we can expand on that during the discussion. In terms of the Youth Ambassador Program, it's really difficult to pinpoint one singular moment that was memorable for me. But if I really had to, it would probably be my interview on Armenian national TV on the morning show during the 2-week stay that we had in Armenia. That was something that I would never have, imagined I would have the opportunity to do before taking part. And I'll always be grateful to the Office of the High Commissioner for Diaspora Affairs for making that possible. As somebody who's grown up in the diaspora, Armenian, although is a language that I speak, it wasn't something that I thought I could articulate to a degree that I could, be on national television. But I think the experience of being with so many diaspora youth and the way we motivated each other and we learned from each other gave me the confidence boost to do that. And I'll always remember that moment from the 2-week stay.
Thank you, Nomi. Mari, we haven't heard from you yet. Please introduce yourself and tell us what is one thing you have taken from the entire experience.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mari Hunanyan. I'm 28 years old, living in Cologne, Germany, and I'm one of two Diaspora Youth Ambassadors in Germany. The other is Annie Galstian from Dresden. And I've studied musicology, arts history, and business administration, working in the cultural field. And it's very difficult to say what one thing it was that stuck with me from this program, or what I've learned from this program. I'd say professionally, it's to see and to experience how many institutions and people there are who are building bridges between Armenia and the Armenian diaspora, and to get to know these institutions and get information about them and be able to myself spread this information, which is a huge privilege. And on a more personal note, I'd like to say that it was a very humbling experience, because to work with the community as a youth ambassador means to be very, very tolerant towards different opinions and people and world views, and to really learn to take that in, and to really experience the whole package and see how we can all work together despite having different opinions and worldviews, I'd say. And it gave me a lot of hope to see how many active people we have here in Germany and the Armenian diaspora.
That's very good to hear. Inessa, what did the 2-week in-country program include? And what are things that you learned during that time?
That was a hard question actually to ask, but I'll try to reply as good as I can and as honest as I can. So the actual program, so technically, if I would start by that, we had a lot of meetings, and the actual scheme of like what we were going to do and what type of activities and meetings and workshops that we would have was actually sent to us a couple of days before leaving to Armenia. And I remember opening it and reading through the people that we would be meeting and the places that we would go. And also by then, we didn't really know that we would actually go to Artsakh. We weren't sure that that was going to happen. And I just remember almost shivering, because that was a big deal to actually be able to speak to so many different people and to have these different perspectives. I was pretty amazed that the program, responsibles had chosen those type of people for us to speak to, because so they were from the cultural field, they were from political field, or like actual politicians, from economy, from universities, and that was very amazing. For me, the 2 weeks experience was again life-changing, just because I got to experience that with this group and with these people, with the 19 other participants, and with our coordinators, Greta Mnatsakanyan and Karin Jakobian. I think that they put the note of, respect and just the overall, I guess, a bit of a vibe, I guess, that we would go with, to be open, to be curious, to ask questions, to, to try to take it all in, but also to, have this respect towards each other, because the participants were so different in ages, in their backgrounds, in their, what careers they had, or what type of political, even, thoughts that they had on different things. So that was pretty amazing to have this respectful forum in a way during those whole 2 weeks, even though we did, of course, have arguments and discussions and such. But I think that was the best part. But of course, for me, who hadn't been to Artsakh yet, that was actually the the most important part for me, to be able to travel to Artsakh almost 1 year after the war had begun, and to experience what had happened after that with our own eyes, to be able to speak to the youth that were so active and so full of life and still going on with their works, to be able to speak to the politicians and further on, and to even just see Artsakh with your own eyes was actually the absolute best part of this program. I think that was something that we, maybe diaspora Armenians, not all of us of course, but many of us haven't had the chance to experience. So I'm especially grateful for that visit and that we got to do that.
Thank you, Inessa. This year, our program will be putting an emphasis on inter-community communication and the exchange of best practices between our participants in order to help each other enhance their own communities. We'll also be discussing themes such as repatriation and diaspora community-related themes. We'll also be having workshops related to the creation of media content, enhancement of public speaking skills, negotiation and communication skills, community event management skills, and we'll also have the opportunity to meet influential people in the public and professional figures within the Armenian sphere. Noemi, please describe some of the activities that you have implemented following the 2-week in-country program within your community.
I have implemented kind of a variety of programs over the past few months in my community. These have ranged from educational lectures. So, for example, I collaborated with the Armenian student university societies here in London to organize a lecture with Mr. Ruben Galicyan. So he's a cartographer, and he spoke about the topic of delimitation and demarcation of the borders between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And that was very topical at the time. And it was great to see not only Armenian students from London attending, but also people from other ethnic groups who were interested to know more. And following on from that, I kind of saw that galvanizing the youth was an avenue that I could take. So I also organized a fundraising dinner, which had two aims. So one was to bring youth together from the British community, but also to raise money for soldiers and veterans in Armenia. So we donated money to the Soldiers' Home Rehabilitation Center, Zimvoritun in Yerevan, and another fund that helps kind of veterans with rehabilitation. So that was that part of the programs that I've kind of executed. But also I was really inspired by some of the groups that we met in Armenia and the work that they were doing. So, for example, Teach for Armenia is an organization that trains teachers in various provinces of Armenia to go and educate the youth in more effective and kind of newer ways. And I thought it would be great to collaborate with them and also other diaspora communities to see what we could learn about how we educate diasporan youth here in the UK and in other countries, because I know that maintaining the language, the Armenian language in communities can be really difficult sometimes. And the most important thing is keeping children engaged to want to come to school every week. So it was really great to be able to organize a seminar with Teach for Armenia, and various teachers joined from Europe and Russia, and it was really, really successful. In addition to that, I wanted to, I've grown up in London and I've been active in the community here, but I've never really worked with other communities in the UK, because there are Armenians in other cities like Manchester, Cardiff, Birmingham. So I decided to take a trip to Cardiff and meet the community there. And it was really great to see how such a small group of Armenians had been able to build, their own centre, had organised a small school for the children, and were doing everything they can to keep the culture alive. And I think any future youth ambassador that is, elected in the UK should really try and work with all communities, because it can be difficult for those who are outside London to feel included in community work. So I guess the events I've organised have had a broad range, but that's kind of a snippet into the things that I've been doing over the past few months.
Thank you, Nomi. It sounds like you were very busy during the past year. Mari, what have you been up to during this past year?
Well, as everybody in Europe or around the world, I'd say we were highly affected by COVID, and also highly affected by all the restrictions due to COVID. So I had to plan around them, which basically meant that I traveled from community to community throughout Germany, to each city, and visited the mainly board members of all the different associations, tried to speak to active members as well, as far as that was possible, in small groups, and in a safer environment due to COVID, as I said. And basically spread knowledge about all the different programs that there are from NGOs and the High Commissioner's Office as well, to spread information about what kind of ways there are to cooperate with Armenia if there is some kind of wish to do so, or what institutions can help when there's a problem. As my colleague Noemi mentioned, a lot of communities have problems to educate children to still speak the Armenian language, even when they're living outside of Armenia, and to understand how Armenia can play an active role in solving this kind of problem was very interesting. So basically a lot of events as well, getting to know people and associations, and also telling about associations based in Armenia and throughout Germany.
Thank you, Mari. Mari and Naomi, you both mentioned how difficult it is to keep the Armenian language outside of Armenia alive. Naomi, how important was the knowledge of the Armenian language throughout the program? Would someone who does not know how to read and write in Armenian, but speak maybe understand the language, be able to be a successful candidate, in your opinion?
So I think definitely the answer to that is yes. I think the most important aspect of the language for this program is to understand it, because you're going to be attending talks, seminars, workshops, and you need to be able to grasp what the professionals are saying and the message they're trying to convey. Having said that, I will be completely honest. I thought that my Armenian was, to a good level before I applied to this program, but I came to realize that because I had, only really used Armenian in a conversational sense, or had to use it in a conversational sense rather than a professional sense in the UK, my vocabulary for those professional terms was missing in certain areas. And I think for me, the program gave me an opportunity to improve my Armenian, and kind of ignited a spark in me to want to be able to communicate better, to read better, to write better. But I do think that there were participants in our program who could speak Armenian, but maybe weren't so good at reading or writing, but were still able to participate just as well as anybody else. And I think the sense of community that we had, where everybody was willing to help the other person. So if we were in a lecture and somebody didn't, understand what was being said, there was no issue in asking the person beside you for some help to explain that. And I think if you want to apply to the program, don't let your Armenian language skills be a hindrance. Quite the opposite. You should apply and see it as an opportunity to improve your language skills, because there's no better way to do that than in Armenia. And over the past year, actually, we've communicated, it solely in Armenian with the group. So I think that was really great.
Thank you, Nomi, for your honest answer. Inessa, The program requires our participants to be active members of their community or a community leader. Having already been a participant of the program, could you elaborate as to what being an active member of your community means in terms of the program? Can you also tell us about your activities prior to being a participant?
Absolutely. So I think the aim of the program in terms of requiring some type of activity within your within some type of association or your diaspora role in your respective countries is to just make sure that when you actually do get accepted as a youth ambassador for your skills or for your ambitions, that you can actually go back to and work with your community to have that type of connections that you've built up maybe during your life, or to be able to actually connect and network and work together. I think that's the main purpose of it, that you have this experience with you, and don't go back with not really knowing where to start or who to speak to, because as my understanding is that if you go to diaspora office's webpage, there you can find different diaspora's contact numbers and names of different associations that are that there are in different countries where Armenians live. But of course, many of them are missing because of the fact that there are no you know uh, institutions maybe in our respective countries who would gather all this information in one place, because of the fact that the diaspora is ever changing, always growing, and so it is pretty hard to know what is going on, or exactly how many associations there are. So I think that's the aim of the program. That's why you guys, I guess, want to have this experience with us. But if I've understood it correctly, it is not really required this term in. So I guess we'll see what happens. Um, Before even applying to this program, I'm always honest with this case that I wasn't the most active person when I came to Sweden. So I was living here from 13 years old when I was 13, and my main focus was to actually be included in the Swedish society, to work on my education and get into other things. So I had different focus, and there was no worries that I might lose my Armenian or my Armenianness up until, unfortunately, the war 2020, when I realized that I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know how to connect with other Armenians in my city, and that made me to pretty much just go out, seek out, make talk to those people who I had some kind of connections with. And from that autumn on, I just became more active and was elected to the different Armenian communities and being their board members. One of them was and is Konsta NGO. It's a Swedish Armenian association run by Luisa Konsta Sargsyan, where I pretty much developed my love of communicating and connecting with building bridges pretty much between Sweden and Armenia. But the first place where the whole thing started was the Cultural Association of Armenian Association in Sweden, in Uppsala, where I for the first time actually got to meet Armenians from different countries, and it was pretty life-changing. So my experience was very little before the war, but during the war, I gathered information. I spread information. We participated in different types of campaigns, or initiated campaigns to donate money and etc. Protests and so on. So that's when it all began. But I guess that it was enough to be accepted as the Diaspora Youth Ambassador, because I had during this time made those connections and had enough networking to be able to work with them further on when I would come back.
Thank you, Inessa. Marie, how about you? Can you tell us about your activities prior to being a participant and what, in your opinion, being a community leader or an active member of our community actually means?
To be honest, my story is similar to Inessa. So I became active during the war in 2020. Probably not as active as Inessa was. So I can say that being active has a lot of different types. I'd say you can be active if you're a board member of an association of a country where you live in, or it can mean that you are actively supporting your association by planning events or helping during these events. Being active can mean that you actively spread information about Armenians and the community that you live in via social media. So active has a lot of faces, and I'd say as long as people are motivated and are willing to connect and are willing to be open-minded and basically open and to communicate and to reach out to people, of course, it's always better to already have some kind of basis that you can come back to. As Inessa said, when you are back in your country, it's easier. It's basically easier for you. But I didn't have as many connections yet, and still, it is possible if you try hard enough, I'd say.
Thank you, Mari. Thank you, Mari. Naomi, I think your story might be a little different. Can you tell us a bit about what you were doing prior to being a Diaspora Youth Ambassador?
Sure. So as I mentioned previously, I've been active in the community since I was 3 years old, essentially. I went to the Sunday Armenian school, graduated from that, and at the same time was a scout in Hometmen, London, from the ages of 5 to, I think it was 17 when I became a leader. That was a big part of my life. When I became a leader, I was organizing weekly activities for the scouts, and I had the opportunity to attend 2 international jamboree camps in Armenia. One was whilst I was a scout, and the second was as a leader. So 2 very different experiences, but nonetheless, they were great, and it gave me the chance to meet so many other diaspora youth. At the moment, I volunteer at the Kevork Tata Armenian Sunday School, and I collaborate also with the Armenian Institute here in London, which is a social, cultural organization that tries to make Armenian culture a living experience, not just for Armenians, but also for others living in the UK. And I've taken part in panel discussions with them, with other diaspora youth, discussing issues like identity, and I hope to collaborate with them more in the future, actually, and try to organize something for youth, a space for youth in London. In addition to that, I still am part of Hometmen in the basketball team. So I actually participated in the Hometmen games in 2017. Which was another great experience. And I also dance. So I'm in the Ahtamar performance dance group in London. I would like to echo kind of what Mari said about what being active means. I think it is multifaceted, and it can mean whatever you want it to mean for yourself. If you are even speaking to friends who are non-Armenian about your Armenianness, then you're active. If you're raising money in small ways, in any way that you can, you're active. But I think this program made me realize how I can connect the active with Armenia, because there's being active in your community, but then there's strengthening those ties with Armenia, which is the entire purpose of this program. So I think without the educational workshops and the lectures that we took part in, I maybe wouldn't have known how to do that. But the events that I've organized over the past few months have been trying to forge those ties and to work with other communities around the world, not, you know, just the British community. So yeah.
Thank you, Naomi. Your last comment was very insightful. My next question is for all three of you ladies. Being the Diaspora Youth Ambassador, what kind of resources did it necessitate from you? How much time and effort did you put within your activities throughout the year? Let's start with Inessa.
So after coming back from Armenia, I had already had some kind of, I guess, scheme or just way of, I had a plan, right? So I did have a plan of how to work within this program and what I was going to do. So I would say it did take me quite some time to, first of all, introduce myself again, but this time as a youth ambassador, because many of the associations, many Armenians just living in Sweden didn't quite grasp what this program was and what I was doing, because many of them, I guess, were, pretty happy with whatever I was doing before that, just within my own roles of being this little spider between, connecting between different groups and associations. So I guess there was some kind of confusion. Many people thought that I was working in Armenia and that I was in Armenia and I had moved back to Armenia. Not yet. So that will be coming. So a lot of time, actually, that was what I had to focus on in the beginning, to actually explain and to introduce myself, to introduce the program, to give them this visual, pretty much the visuals, just like showing pictures and videos from the trip, explaining how these participants were chosen, how different they were, what the aims of the program was. And after that, when I did get the response, which was very positive, very supporting from most of the people that I contacted, then I actually had the chance to have more private meetings with them, do different types of online sessions and meetups. There was, I think, 1 or 2 physical meetings. Again, it was mostly due to Corona issues, but also because of the fact that Sweden is a very large and long country. The cities and the communities are very spread around entire Sweden. So you can't really, gather everyone in one place if we're not speaking about Stockholm, where I do not live. So that was quite challenging, to make sure to still have these connections and to inform and come up with new ideas without being able to see each other. I would say the challenging part was the fact that we all work. I mean, all of us are either go to universities and study or have other types of jobs. And, having that, you have to have this time management skills, I guess. And doing this on your own is quite difficult, because there is no one that will, show you how you're going to, work throughout your day, and then when are you going to do the diaspora job part. So that was a challenging part, to be that independent. I'd say I am pretty independent, but that was quite something to work with, and it took a lot of it took a lot of time, but it was completely worth it. And me being a very self-critical person, I would do so many things different if I could go back. But my hopes are that I could be able to give these advices to the upcoming, the newly elected participants, and hopefully one from Sweden, which I would love to share my experience and give some advice.
Thank you, Inessa. Naomi, how about you? How did your year look like in terms of the time and effort you had to put in this program?
So again, I'll be really honest. I think anybody who is thinking about applying to the program needs to be aware that, you have to to be able to sacrifice some of your time that you maybe would have spent doing other things on the program if you really want to execute it well and make a meaningful impact. But I think for myself and for all the ambassadors that were chosen, that was an easy task because we applied because we were committed and we wanted to do something and make a change. So I guess that made it easier to make those sacrifices. But I agree with Inessa. It's all about time management and being able to, allocate and be realistic with how much time you're going to need to spend. I would usually, I work full time, so I would allocate my evenings to organizing events. But obviously, I wanted each event to be to have a purpose and to be effective. So it's not as simple as just coming up with an idea. It was having to be critical of that idea. Is it really going to fulfill the aims of the program? How could I do it differently, judging by the previous events that I did? And COVID obviously played a massive impact in the initial phases in the winter months because there were a lot of restrictions in the UK. So my events had to be virtual, and it was when I was introducing myself as youth ambassador. So I would have preferred to have done that in person, but you have to work through those challenges and be flexible and adaptable. But I think the fact that I had been a scout leader previously whilst at uni studying, I had already picked up some of those time management and independent skills that are needed. But I think that it's really rewarding at the end of the day to look back at the past year and the work that you've put in and the outcome that's come of it. It is rewarding and it's definitely worth it. And I wouldn't change it in any way. If I could go back and reapply, I would do it again.
Thank you, Naomi. Mari, your experience was a bit unique in the sense that I know that you went door to door, community to community, which must have taken a lot of effort and time from you. How did you manage to do everything?
It was similar to Noemi's experience. So it was basically planning those events for the weekends and then traveling to different cities at the weekends. And thankfully, everyone I've spoken to was very cooperative, and people tried to understand that COVID restrictions made things difficult, made it difficult to plan in advance because these restrictions were ever changing, and so I had to cancel a few events and then moved to just planning events just 2 weeks ahead maximum. So I knew what was coming, which restrictions I have to work with, and that was challenging, but it was also very interesting, and it brought me closer to the people that I had to collaborate with because they had to have the same understanding, and it was a mutual experience. So I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. As Noemi said, if I could do it all over again, I definitely would.
It seems that we have a question from our audience. They're asking, why did you choose to participate in the Diaspora Youth Ambassador program? Mari, would you like to answer first?
I'd love to. For me, it was a lack. I was lacking a network. I was lacking a worldwide network of young, bright Armenians, vibrant people who want to connect and who want to spread the knowledge they have between each other so we can each learn from each other, and to try to create programs and projects outside of Germany as well, with Armenia, of course, in mind. Armenia and Artsakh always in mind and in the focus, but to try to spread our work and to collaborate worldwide. That was my motivation. And this is what I felt, and I've gotten so much more than I had expected.
Thank you, Mari. Naomi, how about you?
So for me, it was I think twofold the reasons why I decided to take part in the program. One was obviously I knew that the program would give me those skills, the knowledge to improve my community engagement. And as I mentioned, that the community engagement which I was doing was one thing, but working with other diaspora communities was something that I hadn't really delved into outside of Hometmen and the experiences I had with that. So that was one part of it. But the second part, which probably was most prevalent in the 2 weeks in Armenia that we spent, was I wanted to see Armenia in a different way. I had always visited, as a tourist, as a scout, but I had never been in Armenia in the professional sphere, and I hadn't had the opportunity, as I think many of us hadn't, to speak to these academics, these intellectuals, these politicians in the ways that we did. And I think that completely changed my vision of the opportunities available in Armenia. I had always seen Armenia, or the prospect of moving to Armenia, as like a distant thought or something that I would consider later in life, and maybe on retirement or something like that. But now, after spending those 2 weeks there and seeing truly what the opportunities are that are available and the advances that are being made in so many sectors, it is really clear to me now that, moving to Armenia doesn't have to be this distant reality. And it's actually something that I genuinely consider on a daily basis now. And I'm going to take part in Birthright. So that's kind of an avenue to learn more. But I think for any diasporan, it's such a big opportunity to be able to see your homeland in a different way, with a different set of eyes that you might previously not have. And I think Artsakh particularly, I had visited Artsakh before the war, so it was quite moving for me to see it after the 2020 war. But I think meeting those young people and seeing the hope that they had, the ambitions, the will to keep going on no matter what, made me realize that the views that we might have in the diaspora of the reality are not always the case. Many discussions were going on at the time that the people of Artsakh might be thinking a certain way, or they might be living their lives a certain way. But until you go there and you see and you speak to these people, you don't know the reality. And I think there's a lesson to take from that for all of us, that, assumptions can't always be made, and you have to see it with your own eyes. So I really am grateful for the program for opening my eyes to that.
Thank you, Naomi, for your inspiring answer. Inessa, what was your reason for joining our program?
I think I already mentioned that. I wouldn't say that one specific note on my iPhone was the reason why I joined it. Obviously not. I think there was just this will again to add to my colleagues, and I love the answers of Naomi and Mari. Was pretty much summing up of my own motives as well. But what I would add is that I was just thinking, what's different with this program, and what is the purpose of it in that sense of building this network? What does it mean really? And I didn't quite realize what it is, even though I was pretty impressed with the actual introduction of it all and what I could read online, and after meeting with my colleagues as well. But I didn't quite understand the purpose of it until I was there. And as Naomi said, when you meet with those people, when you talk to these amazing people from different fields, from different backgrounds, that really opens your eyes in a different way. Because I had gotten the sense that I need to go back to Armenia and make these connections, because I had already done some type of volunteer work in 2019, and that was the first time that I was experiencing Armenia with the eyes of a worker, like someone who would take the metro and go to work every day. That was very interesting and very eye-opening in that sense. So I would recommend you know, if you're not going to apply for this program for some reason, which you shouldn't, you should definitely apply to the program. Try to find other ways to go to Armenia and do some type of work, because when you connect with the people that live in Armenia and live in Artsakh, you get different ideas. You open up. There's a whole world that open up to you, and you know, as the world is so digital and we're living in our iPhones and so on, you don't really grasp the actual reality until you're there, and until you're there as not as a tourist, but actually someone who wants to learn, who wants to contribute, who wants to, you know, cooperate, who wants to bring back something with them to back to their country of living, and also to, you know, make some type of bridges. I mean, as I think Naomi said in the beginning, you know, you can define this being active in your own ways, so it doesn't have to be something major, but I would love as many, you know, youths as possible to shift their way of traveling to Armenia and to do some kind of work, and to get to know Armenia and Artsakh in different way.
We have one more question from the audience. One person is asking, if I was born in one community but have moved and have been living in another Armenian community for the past while, can I still apply, and which community would I represent? Instead of me answering, how about you, Mari? What do you think?
I would say it's totally possible to apply, and you would represent the community that you currently live in. So, for example, if you are born in the UK, but you've moved to Sweden, let's say, then you would represent your respective community in Sweden right now, despite of you being born in the UK. But of course, it's always helpful to use these ties and to work as a youth ambassador with this other community as well from the very beginning. Why not? It can only benefit you and the program.
Thank you, Mari, for your accurate answer. We have one more question, and it goes like this. If I am currently living in Armenia, can I still apply to the program? Naomi, would you like to answer that one?
So I think this one is a bit more difficult because the aim of the program, as much as the first 2 weeks are spent in Armenia, it's to go back to your respective community and to implement everything that you've learned, and to improve community engagement and to strengthen those ties between Armenia and the diaspora. So if you're, you know, permanently living in Armenia, then I think that would be really difficult to do in practice. If it's a case of, you know, you visit Armenia regularly as part of your job, but you're still willing to work within your community, I guess you could make that work. But if you're, you know, if your main home is Armenia, it just wouldn't fit with the general purpose of the program.
Thank you, Naomi. It's very interesting to hear you answer that question, specifically because you were one of the first of, I think, all our participants to mention how this program has started you to think about actually moving to Armenia and it being a possibility, rather than. And having said that, you still think that the program, that our participants should be in country, like within their home country, during the time that they're part of the program. There's one more question. The 2 referees that I have are of professional sort. Would that be okay? I think it's best that I answer that question. Well, since we want the people who are applying to be active members of their community, then we would like for at least one of the references to be from a community leader. By community leaders, we mean a church leader or a community organization or another leading figure within your community who knows you, who knows your abilities, your capabilities, and would be happy to recommend you for our program. Having said that, I did mention that we do want active members within their community, and I think both our participants, Inessa and Mari, also mentioned that prior that their activism they had very little experience with activism or being active within their community prior to being part of the program. If the applicants actually do show genuine desire and are committed to working hard during the year in order to become active members, then we will definitely be considering their application to the program. We do not have any other questions from the audience, so I will ask one last question. Ladies, why would you recommend people to actually apply to the program, and what advice would you have to our next year's Diaspora Youth Ambassadors? Let's start with Inessa.
So if that's okay, I would love to start with the advices. I would say take notes while you're in Armenia, while you're in Artsakh. Record everything, which is what we did and what we had the chance to go back to over and over again afterwards, because of the fact that the meetings that you'll go to are so intense on every level possible, both emotionally and just like the knowledge that you get, the information that you get, the perspective that you hear, which you of course might not agree with, not everything obviously. Take notes, record everything, because you just have so many things to work on when you come back. I think you will be very inspired by those quotes that you might have written from some meetings, or some ideas that you might have picked up. So my advice would be to be as active as possible while you're in Armenia, and ask questions, try to build as good of a group connection as possible before you come back to your respective countries, because working together with the group is what actually made us to work through it and to continue doing this. And I don't remember the first question, even though I said that I'm going to answer the second one. No, I don't remember. So sorry. Next.
Inessa, the question was, why would you recommend for people to apply for the program?
Right, sorry. So I think I've already mentioned it. It is to build this network, which I know that every diasporan kid is dreaming of. It is to connect with people that might have the same exact issues that you have experienced while being a diasporan yourself. You go around and think that, am I the only one experiencing this? Am I the only one not really knowing where I belong? Or, these things that you think that you're alone in, but then you meet these people from, I know, all the way to Argentina, and you realize that this person shares the same thoughts as me, the same, love for our country, and this, it's the connection. So I would love for you guys to apply to this program, to get to know each other a little bit more, to realize how vast and amazing our entire Armenian diaspora is around the world, and to also get these tools and information back to your countries to be able to work a bit more, connected, to be to work towards a goal together, I guess, and to cooperate. So it's both for selfish reasons and for your community's reasons. I would recommend this.
Thank you, Inessa. When you said that your advice is to record everything, I instantly got a flashback to the 2-week program when all of you were sitting during the workshops and the trainings and the lectures and just trying to write everything down. And some of you were typing and some of you were writing it frantically, trying to get everything done. And then at the end of the at the end of the days, you'd be like, there's so much information. How are we going to be remembering it all? And I remember, I think it was Mari who constantly said, it's taking me a few days to actually digest everything that I've been hearing. So it's very interesting that you're still saying that was one of the most important things, to record everything so that you can actually come back to your notes and recollect everything that you've been, all the information that you're going to be intensively given during the past 2 weeks. Noemi, what advice do you have for our next year's participants?
So the main advice that I would give is to have an open mind and to go into the program with no expectations, but just be ready to learn and be ready for your beliefs and your values and your opinions to be challenged in every which way you can think. And I would also say to anyone thinking of applying, it is truly a life-changing experience. And I'm not just, just saying that because this is a panel discussion about the program. It truly did change the way I see things. It gives you skills for life. It's not just skills that you'll use in your community engagement, it's skills that you'll use in your professional life, just like time management we mentioned, and, public speaking and networking. And I would say another piece of advice is to keep your communication active with the other youth ambassadors when you come back to your respective community. As Inessa mentioned, that's sort of what got us through the program, because we were able to discuss the challenges we were facing, the things that were going well. So some people had organized events earlier on in the year, and were sharing tips on what went well, what they would change. And you truly build a community for life. The people that I've met in this program, I know I will stay in contact with forever, because they share so many values that I do, and they share the most important value of all, which is a love of our homeland and of their Armenianness. So I think just have an open mind, be ready to work, don't see it as a light task, take the opportunity, but take it seriously and see it as the big responsibility that it is.
Thank you, Naomi. Ladies, before I ask you the same question, Mara, you know what also dawned on me? None of you mentioned our watermelon ball. So, Mari, now it's up to you to actually tell our audience what our watermelon was, and then answer the question as to what advice would you give our next year's participants.
Well, I'd say prepare yourself for a lot of fun games to sum up your days and to sum up what you've learned, including a watermelon. That is just a cue. You'll see what I mean when you go to Armenia. So what I would recommend is to apply to this program if you see yourself as a bridge. If you are a bridge between your communities, if you are a bridge between people, if you see that capability inside of you to connect, then this program is for you. And if you have the desire to connect with people all around the world, because that is also something that we mentioned a few times now, you are going to meet people from all around the world who come from various places, like from Canada, Argentina, Israel. It's like, and all of them speak your language, and all of them understand your heart, and you are going to see how versatile your diaspora is and what diaspora really means, that it's not some homogenic mass, that it's so many puzzles that are combined with Armenia and Artsakh, giving you the whole picture of what Armenianness is around the world. So you're going to experience a lot of different kinds of being Armenian, which is also a huge benefit that you will get through this program. And I can only, I'm so thankful for Inessa and for Noemi for putting their thoughts and words so beautifully, because I can only agree. It is going to be a life-changing experience in the best way possible, because you are going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn a lot about your home country, about your diaspora, and friendships for life, so I would say, and colleagues.
Thank you, Mari. Ladies, sadly, our time has come to an end. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you and take the time to actually listen to you, and it's always very, very insightful and very hopeful to actually hear what you have to say. And I would like to thank you for taking the time for being with us tonight. And I would also like to thank our audience who took the time to hear about our program today. We will be ending with a short video showing some of your experiences, actually. Wishing everybody a good day and a good evening. And we hope to see your applications in very, very soon. Thank you, ladies, and goodbye.